Alright, so first, let's go over the materials we're going to need. Switch my light on here. We're going to need this, not the bass guitar, but this is what I use. It's a big piece of foam insulation. You can get these, they're like an inch thick. I got mine at Lowe's. The thing was probably like 12 bucks, I think. And right now you can see that it's like a good 4.5 feet long. It started off probably like 8 feet long. I had to cut it in half so I could fit it in my car and get it home. But this is what I use. This is basically the, well, pretty much the entire structure of what I'm going to be making here. So this is definitely good stuff. Let's go over some other tools we're going to need. Alright, next you're going to need a ruler or a straight edge of some kind so you can like trace your, basically the shape that you want to cut. I recommend definitely using something with a straight edge. Don't try and use, like, I don't know, the end of like a magazine or something, because you might mess up and then you won't have a straight edge anymore. You're going to need a pencil just to kind of, you know, trace out your outline of what you want to cut. When it comes time for cutting, I recommend a good utility blade. Here's the part in the video where I say don't mess with this if you're not old enough to know what you're doing. If you're a little kid, don't mess around with that. I don't need somebody watching my video after their kid gets hurt being like, oh, where did he learn how to mess with a utility knife? Be safe. Don't be stupid if you're going to do this. And if you're young and you want to try something like with this, make sure there's an adult around. That's all I'm going to tell you. And I also have a smaller blade here for more precise, I guess, stuff. Ideally, you would use an X-Acto knife, like the little, like the short blade that's like pointed more. But I don't have one of those. I just got one of these, so I make use of it. Anyway, what you're going to want to do is, after you trace your shape onto your, well, I mean, I did it already right here, but after you trace your shape onto your big green, or whatever color you got, foam board, or insulation, I mean, ideally you would just trace out whatever you wanted, and like I've done here. And the best way to cut it is to take your blade and go over what you've done, like little by little. Like, I recommend cutting it like 3 or 4 times in the exact same spot before you try and, like, you know, pull it right off of the piece, because otherwise you might end up with like a frayed edge, like on this side. You can see it a little bit, like it's broken apart rather than a clean cut. I mean, that's partially because of the pattern I made too. Like, it's not easy to cut like crooked lines and things like this, or like you can see up here, like I didn't cut, or yeah, I didn't cut deep enough to get a clean cut. But that's okay, because the structure I'm making is, you know, it's called WarZone, so it's meant to look like a dilapidated building. And I actually got 2 pieces of that, because these are going to be on opposite sides of the entryway. You can see that they're not exact, but that's okay, because it's going to resemble like a broken building, like destroyed. And I can't think of a building that's, you know, ever been destroyed like symmetrically before. So I got my 2 halves of this, and we're going to get to work on this now. Alright, so basically this is going to be half of the entryway, and the other side will match it, and then there will be like something in the middle. I'm thinking of like broken window or something to make it look like a war zone, so to speak. What you're going to want to do, since I'm making bricks, that's going to be what I'm focusing on. You're going to want to cut notches in the corners. Like, you can see that I've done that already. And they're basically 1 centimeter apart, pretty much. That's another good thing the ruler is used for, measuring. For those of us who didn't know what the purpose of a ruler was. You got your notches cut, you know, into the corners. Then from there, you're going to take your, where's my little blade? Oh, my pencil, sorry. And you're going to line up with those notches, and you're going to draw just straight lines going across, just like this. The whole way across what you're doing. The entire way down. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch the whole thing, but basically you can see that it leaves little grooves in there. Now those are going to be basically your guidelines for when you make a cut into there. I'm going to finish this up, and then we're going to skip ahead to the cutting. Alright, so you can see here that I've already drawn out my brick pattern. This is basically just drawn over, very lightly, over the foam. That way it's, like I said, it's my guideline for when I'm cutting into it. Now for cutting, This is where you use the smaller knife if you're cutting like details into it. Obviously we use the big one to cut the entire thing out, but the smaller one you don't need to go like through the entire thing. Basically you just follow the lines that you just drew, you score it once, and that's it. That's all you got to do the whole way through. And obviously like you go up the whole way, and then the little brick designs that you've drawn on, you just do slightly little cuts like that, just like that, and that's enough to just open the foam up. Now the idea is the scoring that separates the foam a little bit, and then you could take either the back end of this, I like to use this spot, or the bottom of your blade, and then you go through it again once you've scored it and opened it up a little bit. This just widens the lines a little bit, so it makes it so you can see a little bit more depth in there. I don't know if you can tell from this one, but I did the same thing to the other side already. And you can definitely see that it's a lot deeper and like it's way more textured. And I went along the sides and did that too with this one. This is going to be the opposite side. One thing you'll notice is that like there's spots like here and here where like the chunks are missing. Where's the other? Oh, here you go. Basically that just meant that I messed up when I was cutting, or like when I was tracing it I messed up. But with something like this that's a brick pattern, you can literally take like a chunk out of it and it still looks good because it just looks like damaged brick, which, you know, fits my theme pretty well. Also, you'll notice that it's not textured at all. I mean, the foam has a little bit of a texture to it, but we're going to figure out the best way to texture that to make it actually look like real brick. But for now, I'm going to finish this up. I should also point out, if you want to learn more about all this stuff, there's a couple people on YouTube. One channel is Lunkermouth, another channel is AJ Frost, and the third, and the one that I'm most familiar with, is JD Meg's. It's JD Meg in a couple of numbers. I'll link all the channels here, but they do stuff like this, except it's just a lot better than mine. I'm kind of a beginner at this, but their custom work is fantastic. Anyway, I'm going to get by going with this, finish this up, and we'll skip ahead. Alright, so now you can see that's the other side of the wall. It's all done. Right here you can see I kind of like messed up again, so I just took a whole chunk out of this brick, and I chose to remove a little chunk out of the one beneath it, so it looks like it was a huge impact that went through there, or like a, I don't know, some kind of a, I can't even tell you, I don't know, whatever. The point is it's done. Here's the other side, evened up for scale purposes. What's cool about this is if you're actually designing this for like 3D stuff, you could like make it so that it's like a corner of something like that, so you could have like a building exterior shot or something like that. But since I'm just using it for a wrestling like entryway, I'm gonna have it standing like basically like this. And like I said, there's gonna be something across the top here, so to make it more, I guess, official. Anyway, as I said, we're going to texture this in a minute, but first I want to explain exactly what I'm going to do with this. There's going to be a layer of like concrete, like, you know, if you ever look at a destroyed building where there's bricks underneath and like a layer of concrete in front, like the concrete gets blown away and there's the bricks underneath. There's going to be that layer here. That's why I didn't go over the whole thing with bricks, because it would be pointless if I'm going to slap concrete in front of it. We're going to get to how to do that in a little bit. Before we get to doing that, let's show off my, this is my ACBA World Tournament Round 1 display. I'm not going to go into like everything about this, but this is my first attempt at making something out of all that. And you can see I did all the layering and all the techniques and stuff there too. And I got like the missing chunks of brick that you can see, and like it's just, it's cool stuff once you get good at it. I'm not like the best at it yet or anything, but I think this piece came out nice. I got a nice roof, well, not from that angle, but I got a nice roof that like, you could probably take figures, like you could stand figures like up on the roof and, you know, makes for some nice scenery. So I would say in animations coming up, I'm going to probably have a lot better scenery than you've ever seen out of me before. You know, going forward, starting with WarZone, you're going to see like the wrestling sets and stuff getting better too. I guess that's where I'm going to stop this whole thing for now. Next time we'll get into the texturing technique on those bricks and some of the assembly I'm going to do, and maybe some of the detail work. Alright, thanks for checking this out. Later.